Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us once again on Dojo Live, weekly talks with experts like you. My name is Kim Landis, and I'm joining you from Nearsoft's office in Hermosillo, Sonora, Mexico. I'm pleased to welcome my fellow Nearsoftians, Carlos Ponce in Mexico City.
Hi, Kim.
Hi, Carlos. And then Mark Schad in Las Vegas, actually. Hey, Mark.
Hey everyone.
So, Carlos, Mark, before we get started, I have a question. Have either of you ever daydreamed about traveling in time?
Oh, well, I guess that in more ways than one, yes.
Okay, not necessarily to like go back and undo a bad decision or something like that, but how about the idea of witnessing a piece of history?
Of course.
What event sparks your interest, Carlos?
Well, definitely one of them would be Pompeii. See what happened, really?
Oh, very cool. So, in some ways, today's guest has made time travel possible with the help of virtual reality. So, who we are welcoming today is Yigiter. Hello, Yit. He is the CEO and co-founder of TimeLooper. Welcome to Dojo Live, Yit.
Hi, thank you very much. Thanks for inviting me.
Perfect, thank you. So, I understand you have quite a lot of experience in business development with companies as large as Unilever or even Dell. So, was it business development, love for technology, or a bit of both that brought you to TimeLooper? How did it all start?
Neither one. Um, actually, this is a long story, but this was my childhood dream. I was lucky because I was the first grandkid in the family, and my grandparents were retired, and then they took me all around the world. And I was like 7 years old when I was on the Great Wall of China, and
Wow.
this is a long, long time ago. And when you travel, always tour guides they try to visualize what it used to be like, and those are magnificent places. And you feel like, oh my God, I'm standing on the same place where people used to walk thousands years ago. It's an amazing. So it would be great to just relive those days when I visit those locations. And then fast forward um, to 2007, about 11 years ago. This was my application essay to business school, thinking that all these attraction sites, they have amazing stories and they already attract a lot of people, but they don't generate as much revenue as the other ones, or they don't excite the visitors. For example, you go to Louvre, it's a huge museum. You walk very quickly and then you stop in front of Mona Lisa, take a picture, and then leave.
Right.
But you should be getting more out of these museums. So if we can tell, first of all, if we can visualize the architecture, but in addition to that, also capture the rituals in a more engaging way, in a different format, that will increase, first of all, transmission of heritage. The second of all, increasing visitor numbers, and third of all, contribution to the economy. So that's the now first 8-7. It's an idea. Now, before applying to business school, now it is um, here's the reason why, and but what's the technology? And then um, well, 2.5 years ago, my wife works for Google. One day brought home Google Cardboard, and that was my first time trying virtual reality on a smartphone. And I said, aha, like everybody has a smartphone. The smartphone is 360, it's just changing all of my environment. Why not, when you're in the museum, just holding your phone against the view in Pompeii and see how it explodes, and you turn back and then people are running away. So what would be like living those moments? So, and then I quit my job, and yeah, so that's the story.
Very cool. So, a boy's dream and childhood passion.
Yeah,
And thanks to the wife who works at Google.
yes, and I'm paying for the bills, of course.
Yes. So now we have a good idea of what Time Looper is, but before we move on, can you tell us what is Time Looper and how does it work?
TimeLooper is a smartphone app. We optimize everything, the technology and then the content for smartphones. As you know, there are high-end headsets, but not when you optimize it for a high-end sense, it may not work on a smartphone. It's a smartphone app, and it works on both Android and iOS. And the content is either could be geolocked to a location. So let me give you a very specific example. For example, when you go to Tower Bridge in London, which most people think that it's London Bridge, and when you go inside the museum, the ticket office asks you if you want to have a time traveling experience. And if you want, you pay an extra fee, and then you download the app. The app is free, but inside the app, there are all these locations as YouTube, and then every location destination has a channel. And then you download the content, and you have access to content when you are inside the museum. And then you get your cardboard headset. On Tower Bridge, you go back in time and see, for example, the construction of Tower Bridge in 1892, or you go to the other walkway, and then you see the London in medieval times in 1666, and then the Great Fire of London, the third night. So that's the user experience, and then we partner with tourism boards, museums, tour companies, busters, and now with schools.
Wow. So for this experience, is the experience limited to the visual, or is it auditory as well?
It's a video file. So some of all the videos have audio. Some of them has voiceover narration to provide more information. For example, for National Mall in Washington, D.C., the National Park Services asked us, how can we bring how can we tell the significance of these memorials? And in that sense, you have to use audio to tell the stories in a very short period of time in a more immersive way. Versus in London, when you are standing in front of St. Paul's Cathedral, there's no voiceover. From exactly that point, we take you to the third night of the Great Fire, and then so that there's no voice, but there's audio, the fire, and then people running around you and
Screaming.
Yeah.
Wow. Mark, I think you had a question.
Yeah, I did. I was curious. Experiences. I was interested in. So let's say I were to visit the Empire State Building, and I wanted to go back and see history in 1931 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd have the capability to be able to get more out of my experience being there, but also being able to visualize what it was like way back then. Correct?
Correct. So when you look at the other VR content right now, they usually take you to the places where you cannot go or planning to go. But those are places as they are today. What we do is, instead of taking you to a place, we take you to a moment back in time where you cannot witness anymore. So when you go up to Empire State, first you enjoy the amazing view.
Yes.
And then
sure.
So when you go up, the first level is the exhibition level, where they talk about the construction, how like right after the Great Depression, and how they will put together all the efforts, and how it was automized and was completed in 1 year. And it's mostly about its construction history. Then you go up, and when you go up, you enjoy the view. And then when you hold TimeLooper app against the view, so it knows which direction you are looking at. This time you travel back to 1931, and then you're on a construction day. The view changes. You see the Manhattan in 1931, but also you are on a construction scene, and then you see how people are working, and they don't have any safety belts, nothing. So it's seeing Manhattan on a different time period, but also seeing the construction scene from Empire State.
So you're having, you're actually getting so much more of an experience than you would by just being there. So being able to see how it was back then, and how it was built, and how Manhattan looked, and everything else, that's really cool.
So you have to be physically present in the location to use TimeLooper?
It depends. So it depends on our partners, what they want to do. For example, Tower Bridge, first of all, consuming the content at the actual location is 10 times more immersive because you are looking at
Right.
Manhattan as of today. You just
Yeah.
hold your phone and suddenly it is Manhattan 1931.
Hmm.
Or now we are going to do Angkor Wat in Cambodia. We just signed and made an agreement. So we are, when
Wow.
you're in this amazing temple, it's just like a huge temple, and you're surrounded by tourists, and you're going to hold it, and then now you're going to see it's being building. Two people are building it. So it's much more immersive when you're at the site. But also, it is also for some of the content, it's possible to see it, to view it from it. And as a startup, we are trying to figure out what is the best optimal way. And it's partially depends on our partners, what they want. They want to drive people. For example, Tower Bridge, it's already well known. Everybody knows about it. So it, the experience is locked to the location. Versus for a lesser known location, this is also a marketing opportunity for them to get people excited and visit.
Hmm.
But and from an end user experience, I would recommend being on site. There are two modes, an AR mode and an VR mode. VR mode is with the headset. So
Okay.
when you're at the site, AR mode is also very powerful because you can see both old and new at the same time, like a window to the past.
Hmm.
And if you put in the phone and the headset, then it is like being in the moment. If you are not at the site, you should definitely use the VR mode because so that I mean you have to be surrounded. And then our videos always start in present day, and then with the visual transition you go back in time. So it's the schools, for example, they love it because what how teachers use it, they start the video, start there, they stop the video and they say like this is Ephesus, it's an ancient Greek historic site, it's a UNESCO site, and then they keep playing the video. Then with the transitions you see the columns building up and you're looking at the architecture,
Hmm.
and then they talk about the architecture and then keep playing it. Now people are showing up and then you see the daily life trades, their costumes. So it's a very valuable content for schools as well. And then schools are always mostly consuming it from in the classroom.
When I was looking on your website and things like that, I couldn't help but notice the expressions on some people's faces as they're wearing these goggles. Like I remember one guy's like his mouth's completely open, right? He's like,
Yeah.
and other people who are beaming and smiling. So can you help, like, for those of us who haven't experienced this yet, what is an experience like? Is it something like a 3D movie where, I mean, do people actually like duck or think that somebody who's running in their virtual world is going to bump into them, or how does that feel?
So first of all, that's the best part of this job. Whenever we do business development and travel around the world, the best part is we talked about TimeLooper, as I explained, and I would say that now let's do a demo. And then we give the headset, and then the best part is watching people smiling as they see the content.
Hmm.
So the experience is when you put in the headset, um, imagine like you imagine like you don't have a headset, and then you look around, and it's a spherical movie. So and on every direction, there is something to look at. So you feel like you are in a different time period, and you can look all around you. So I mean, this is so difficult to explain without trying to app. So that's our
Uh-huh.
biggest marketing challenge. People love the experience. People love fall in love with the idea when we talk about it. But when you go to a museum, when you are taking a tour, of course, we don't have time to explain it within 2 minutes.
Hmm.
And then if they have not tried virtual reality before, and our challenge is how do we explain these people so that they understand and they want to use it?
Hmm.
Because we know that when people use it, it's the best experience.
So how do you go around that marketing challenge? What have you found to be successful to convince people to try it?
So that we have we're still trying and learning. One way is adapters, and when people see other people using it, and then they get really excited. That's one.
Hmm.
And the second one is always letting people try one content from our headsets because then they understand what it is and they buy the rest of the content.
Right.
Third one is if you have a TV screen and we have a marketing material that shows the depicts the experience, that's uh, that's more scalable, obviously. And then also now we are being more creative. Now working on a giant hologram poster, so that when as you are walking by, you see the transition all that new.
Wow.
So
Is motion sickness a problem with virtual reality?
it is a problem, and that's why also we tell our stories in a very specific. So if you are moving, if the camera is moving inside the virtual reality video, then it may give you sickness. What we do is we don't move the camera from the promises from where you are standing right now. What would you see if you could time travel to 1,000 years ago? So since the camera is not moving, objects around you are moving, but people are celebrating the end of World War II, or you see columns are building up. So that's why it does not give you motion sickness.
Because you are allowed to control what your movements and what you're looking at.
Yes.
Very
but
interesting.
in general, virtual reality content can give you motion sickness if you don't have the control on the moment.
Okay, so is that control something that you've had to develop, like programmers, or how does that work? The solution to that?
It's part of production. So this is the content creation is like a movie production. We do it in green rooms. It's about moving the camera or not moving the camera. It's more about the production, less about the app technology.
Nice. That actually brings me to one of my questions, which was the production. So, like, what does that process look like from ideation through development to release? Like, how do you choose your locations? How do you discover how to be as most historically accurate as possible? History always has more than one perspective. Is that a challenge?
So the older the story, there are more interpretation is more involved. So that has advantages and disadvantages. And then the newer the story, the more footage are there available. So you have to be more accurate. So sometimes it's easier to work on an ancient story than a recent story.
No one's left to criticize. No one's alive to criticize you.
Yeah. So the process is we meet our partners. Let's say that this is a historic site, a museum. Let's say Pompeii. In that example, we would first, the first one is we meet with the team, Pompeii team, and they tell us what are the most important moments, important things, or part of their exhibition that they want to visualize. And sometimes it's based on a storyline, or sometimes they want to move people through a traffic. There's less visited section of the museum. It's very interesting, but it's not maybe uncovered fully yet. So once we identify those stories and locations, then we go and shoot on site. Then the research starts. So for the research, we rely on our partners' research. They're archivists, historians. We work with them. It's like we work on the, let's say, costumes, and then we send them samples, and then they approve. Or the architecture, there's an approval process, and then the first phase is green room shooting with the actors, and the second phase is post production with CGI, during the architecture, the view, or objects sometimes, and this takes about 2 to 3 months.
Wow. So how much
idea generation to going live?
So what you do all happens on computers in a green room, or how much comes from on-site?
On-site, we don't have to do anything on-site. Actually, we can do everything remotely. We go and shoot on-site because from where you stand, we want to align everything perfectly. So that's the role of shooting on-site. But for on-site is very simple. Just you go with your regular consumer camera, and then you shoot from one perspective.
I have a.
And that's it.
Actually, I have 2 questions. One of them is related to the content of the concept itself, and then the other one is about the business side of the equation. As far as I would like to ask you, from the concept point of view, what has been like the craziest idea as far as the location is concerned, or time or moment in history that you ever thought of to a point where you said, nah, this is not doable. Okay, so we're just going to abort it or something. So have you had any of those ideas that maybe you wanted to do it, maybe your team or somebody else told you, no, this cannot be done? Have you ever encountered any of those situations?
I know when I speak with my team, production and IT team, the response I get is everything is doable. How much time and money we have.
Oh, okay.
That's the attitude.
Or let me put it this way. What would you say is the most challenging scenario that you personally would feel is, like, as I said, the most challenging idea that you have ever had to recreate or to do on TimeLooper?
So it's less about the projects. It's more about the novelty of technology. It's such a new technology that it has lots of challenges that we have to come over every single time. When we look at our first video and then very last video, at least for us, it's day and night. And our last video right now, Black Tuesday, could even won awards. So that continuous improvement, and it's a lot of creativity and then technological development that we have to develop in-house, or now that a new tool is available to use that, it's a combination. So every project is challenging, but it's getting easier at the same time because we are solving a lot of problems on the previous projects. So it's not about it, but nature in general. If let's say that you're a customer, you're a site, you would say that what are the most difficult type of videos versus easier to do videos. If the video has a lot of actors, it becomes more difficult and complicated because you have to coordinate everybody, and also becomes more expensive because you have to buy that many costumes. In that sense, Coliseum would be an expensive production because you have to do crowd generation, and then you have the gladiators. It's crowded. So, but then it applies for every site around the world. When we do Great Wall and the Chinese army, that's also another challenge, but it's not solvable. But right now, the challenges that we are trying to solve are not about specific stories. It's about the technology itself in general. So when you solve it for all the story types.
Right.
Okay.
So
Perfect.
that's really cool. So right now, TimeLooper is available in London, New York, Washington, Budapest, Berlin, and Izmir, right?
Yes. So in New York, we have multiple experiences. In total, we have about 52 experiences, and those are the cities that we have real life. And then now we're going live in China with the Great Wall, and then a few other sites by the end of this year. In Korea, one of the most famous palaces, Angkor Wat, and then a few other sites in the pipeline for this year.
Very, very cool. Mark, what were you going to ask?
Yeet, I had one more of a technical type question. I was curious on the smartphone app, what type of technology stack is that built on?
Unity. So we are using Unity.
I'm sorry?
Unity.
Okay.
Unity. It's a gaming engine.
Yeah, I know what it is. Yep.
Mm-hmm. So there's a reason for rather than building our own engine. I mean, when we first started as a minimum viable product, we didn't use Unity. But now we moved to Unity engine because Unity is a gaming engine. And for us, interactivity and an entertainment is very important. And in Unity platform, you have much more opportunities and lots of new features being developed, and you are more able to create new products. So that's why we are using Unity as a platform.
Yeah, it's more entertainment type based. I get it. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, so for example, now we are building interactive features where you can engage with the story, not only view it. And it's much easier to do on a Unity rather than trying to build it from scratch.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
What would an example of that engagement look like?
So we have one early example is in Washington, in Washington D.C. So Washington Memorial barracks going to be closed for the next 3 years, and then National Park Services asked, can we do a content where people can see the view without going up? And we said we can do even more. So now with that content, you can see Washington D.C. today, and also you can select a year, a period, and then see that. So you interact, you look at a period, 1800s, and then the whole scenery around you changes, and you are 1800s. And there are beacons. By looking at beacons, you get real pictures from those periods, from that pictures taken from that perspective. This is one example. So in the video now, what we can do is, let's say that you're in Ellis Island going through the process, and the customs person asking a question, you can answer by nodding your head yes or no. That's another interactivity.
That's very, very cool. I think we're coming to the end of our time today, Yeet. Unfortunately, it's been very, very interesting, but I know that you have other matters to attend to. I guess for me, my only last question would be, what has your experience in working with VR been like? And for someone who's interested in pursuing that, what suggestions or recommendations might you have, skill sets to follow, and those types of things?
So since this is a new technology, a strong team is very important. So one of my co-founders is an award-winning movie director and visual effects expert. So we are bringing his movie production know-how and technique and post-production. And then we are combining, and then our CTO is a game designer. So we are bringing those two skills. Since this is such a new space, then having expertise on different disciplines is important. Just like for everything, but everything starts from a consumer perspective. Like I don't have an engineering degree. I didn't work in travel industry, but just keep the consumer perspective first, because we are seeing so many different VR content. It really doesn't make sense viewing that in a VR format. Just you can watch it on a regular screen. Even maybe it's better to watch it in a regular screen. So I think the most important thing here is finding a type of content that is most effective in a VR format, or it's delivered in a context that adds value to the consumer experience. Otherwise, it's just going to be creating VR content for the sake of VR content. But then you have to do a lot of innovation along the way, because there are lots of obstacles. So that's having an expert team is going to be key. And the third thing is you have to be patient, because this is a new technology. As I said, marketing it to the end consumer is the most difficult one, because people don't know what it is. So, and they don't have any expectations. And partially because of that, when they view it, their appreciation of the experience is humongous, just because they weren't expecting to see anything like that. So think like a consumer, have a good team, and be patient when it comes to consumer adaptation.
Very good advice. Thank you. Mark, Carlos, anything for you guys before we sign off?
Yeah, I have a question,
No,
but I'll go ahead. And Mark, do you have anything?
No, that was excellent. Thank you very much, Yeet.
Welcome. Thank you.
Yeah. No, well, I don't have any other questions other than what I would like to do is I'd like to remind the audience, if you're watching now or if you want to be watching in the future, right on our website, which is dojo.nearsoft.com, you can send us your questions for Yit right here on this. Let me show my high tech, because this is very high tech. This is my sharing device, which is a Post-it note, and it's at DojoLIVE. Just send us your questions right here, and either read them back. If we're live, we'll read them to Yit, and if not, then we'll just forward them to him. And of course, all the info to contact Yit and his company is going to be right there on our website once this broadcast is over. Just make sure you make a note of the link, which is Again, dojo.nearsoft.com, and it'll all be there. And as far as I'm concerned, the only thing left for me to do is simply thank you for having agreed to be here with us today. And we're going to be in touch. I'll send you the link to the episode when we're done. I'll send it to you in an email so you can share it at your leisure and convenience.
Thank you very much. Thanks for inviting me. And then I love the start of this conversation. And then Pompeii, we're hoping to do Pompeii soon. That's also my favorite. But whenever I give examples, I use Pompeii or Colosseum.
Nice. Way to go,
And
Carlos.
also, that's what my 5-year-old wants. She keeps asking me, "Is Pompeii up yet?"
And like, when are we gonna go, Dad? Very, very cool. All I have left to say is thank you, Yeet, for joining us today. I think congratulations on your success and following your passion and your ideas. It's really, really fun. Um, you've got a fan. Unfortunately, I've on the list of where Time Looper is available, I've only ever been to Washington D.C. and that was in like 2000. So, but I would love to go back and experience from standing in time, history's perspective. I think it's very, very fun to see just how we can apply VR. Really, really cool. So congratulations. I don't know if you have anything else, any closing words you'd like to leave with us other than wait for Pompeii.
Thank you very much. Thanks for inviting.
Very good. Well, thank you all. And Yeet, once again, thank you so much. This is what we have for you today on Dojo Live, and we'll see you next week. Take care, everyone.
Thank
Mark,
you.
Carlos, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks,
Thank
Sheet.
you. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.